Hey everyone, this is Nolan from Team Takeover. This past Sunday, I took pure THERION to my locals for a sneak preview for Power of the Elements, and I ended up going undefeated, tying for first place with my good friend Levi, who was there. He was playing the Plant Sun Seats on Avalon deck. But yeah, him and I tied for first. We both went undefeated, and this is the deck I brought. So I wanted to bring you a profile of what I played and how I played it that day. My matchups for that day, Eldritch, which I 2-0'd, Sky Striker 2-0. I ended up going into a draw with Levi, going into time. So it was really 4-0-1, one draw for that day, but still undefeated. The other two, I know I played Branded Despia, but I don't remember what the other one was. Most of my matches today were under 10 minutes just because this deck was just an absolute mad powerhouse, just reaming through everything. So we're going to get started here. First card, Lava Golem. This card is absolutely bonkers in this deck. You can trade it off for trade-in if you're going second, and also going second. Your Therions play around Lava Golem because the restriction right here, you cannot normal summon or set the turn you special summon this card. All the Therions play around this because none of them normal summon themselves. They all special summon themselves from hand. The only card that this does interfere with is your Lone Fire Blossom, but you have plenty of ways to get your Therions in the graveyard, as you can see from the list already. Also, Gameciel. I played this because I didn't want to draw more than one Lava Golem. Like, I didn't want to have two of these in hand. So I played Gameciel because it was a low attack 8-star monster that also goes well with trade-in. Gets rid of any towers monsters or any problem monsters. And also you can combo this off with this card here, which we'll talk a little bit about later. But yeah, these were my going second monster outs. Lava Golem came up in I think 3 out of 5 games. It was so good. Also the 1000 damage ended up coming up in time. I was gonna win anyway, but it was just kind of funny at that point. But yeah, Lava Golem, Gameciel, these cards were insane. 3 copies of Regulus. What is there to say about this card? It's an Omni Negate, 3500 attack, specials from hand, big beefy boy. Yeah, 3 of them. And then 3 Borea. This card was one of the 2 best cards of my deck that day, this past Sunday. I was able to, every time I was able to activate the effect, it would always bait out negation, and if it didn't get negated, then I was just going to win no matter what. If I searched Therion Coliseum, or if I searched out my cross or charge, no matter what, I was going to win at that point. But yeah, Borea was an insane card, and it's level 8, which is perfect. I ran 1 Ducule. This was preventative for the Eldritch match when they had Conk. Unable, it protects all your Therion monsters from being destroyed by card effects, so came in handy. Also a big defense, and depending on what you equip it with, whether it's like, Regulus or Borea, or Foom, you also get that added effect as well, so it can't be destroyed by card effects, plus you get the negate, the search, or bounce. I pulled this from the sneak preview packs, and we were allowed to play sneak preview cards for the tournament, so I ended up pulling 1 Alacia. No one saw this card coming, and right before the tournament, everyone said that this card was absolute garbage. I played it at 1, and every time I had this card, it was an instant OTK. They would negate all my other stuff, like Regulus, special summoning out some from the graveyard, or if it was in the graveyard, they would negate whatever I was activating to bring Regulus back with, or the Borea, Boline, or Foom. And then when I summoned Alacia, they had no idea what it did, so they, didn't have any negation for it, so I used its effect to special summon one from the Spell and Trap zone, which was usually Borea, and then Borea effect, like send itself to grab Discall, add Regulus, Borea, and then just swing in for a bunch of damage. If not, have 3 of them on the field at once, and go for an OTK. So this card was actually crazy. I'm really glad that I pulled it. I don't think I actually would have won the tournament without it. This card was absolutely insane. I do agree it's a bad card outside of pure Therion, but inside of pure Therion, the card is absolutely bonkers. One Bull Ein, this came up a few times for the pop, getting rid of back row removal. That's my back row removal option, getting rid of problem field spells or monsters. Bull Ein was crazy. Boom. This card was insane. This was the second of my top 2 cards of that day. So between it and Borea, these were the best cards of the tournament. This is the one that you can combo off. So you target whatever you have equipped to it, and either the Lava Golem or Gamasiel, and bounce either back to your hand for next turn. So at that point, your opponent my opponents kind of realized they were just fucked anyway. Because I got the free bounce, and I got the, setup for next turn. Therion Coliseum, protect us from battle, plus whatever negation I have, or if I have like Regulus on board, it was just kind of a done deal at that point. So yeah, Foom was absolutely insane. Would never run less or more than 1 just because it's really searchable. And you typically want it in the graveyard anyway to give Therion its effective bounce. 3 Lone Fire. This was my starter of the deck. I just accidentally... There we go. Accidentally put it away. This was my main starter of the deck. You tribute itself, and you have 2 options with this. It really depended on what I was trying to do. So in one situation, for example, I would Lone Fire into the other 2 copies, and then tribute the last copy to go into Borea just to thin down my deck. Or if I knew I was playing a more of a grind game, I would only tribute 1 to go into 1 Borea, so that way I have the 2 other starters to get into my 2 other Boreas in deck. It really just depended on the situation that I was encountering. But yeah, Lone Fire into Borea, pitch itself, or pitch a card from hand to search for Discall, or charge, or, cross. But yeah, Lone Fire was crazy. This never got negated once, also. In one case, I actually activated its effect. My opponent didn't realize it tributed for cost, so they had Imperm in hand. So after I activated its effect, they tried to Imperm without realizing that it was a tribute for cost, so they wasted the opportunity to actually negate it. Hand traps, we had 3 Ash Blossom. Came up quite a lot. I was playing Dragon Link, and that was the other deck that I was playing against Dragon Link. I 2-0'd them as well. I'm going first and second. So, oh no, we went to game 3. Yeah, we went to game 3. Game 2, they had me. But yeah, Ash Blossom. So the thing about this card was, whether it was against Branded Fusion or if it was Chaos Ruler, this card ended the turn. Both times my Dragon Link player tried to activate Chaos Ruler, the magical dragon. I ashed it, and they literally passed their turn. They had no follow-up, and I ended up OTKing them with, Bull Line Pop, summon Regulus, summon Alacia, summon out whatever was attached to it, and just attack for game. So yeah, really good card. Ash Blossom came in clutch. The other one that was really good today, surprisingly, was Ghost Ogre. I used it on Fallen of Albaz. I used it on, I think it was Albion. I used it on, Eldritch. I used it on Cursed Eldlin, Fallen of Albaz, Albion, and there was something else in one of my other matches. I think it was the Sun Avalon, the Link 1, I believe. But yeah, it came in clutch. Ghost Ogre was actually really good. I wouldn't run it at 3. Just because its uses are sort of niche depending on what kind of tournament you're playing in. I just knew that my locals tend to play a lot of cards that can be ogred, so that's why I specifically played the card. But outside of this tournament, I don't know if I would really replace it depending on how the next format looks. I'm not really sure if it's that good against TR Elements or Split or Math Mech, but I guess we'll find out. Spells, obviously we play 3 Disc Coliseum. Best spell of the deck. This deck can also play around anti-spell because you don't need your spells. You just need to have a Therion monster in grave and one in hand. So when it was useful, it was insane. You know, protecting my monsters from battle, which people kept forgetting about. You know, sending one Endless Engine to the grave, you know, for setup for next turn to add a Therion back, any Therion card. Adding a Therion to hand. I mean, this card was just absolutely insane. 3 Argyro system. This card was also crazy, whether it was going first or second. You know, typically what would happen is I would have this in hand, and I would get to Berea, whether through Lone Fire, Discal, or Charge, or the trade-in draws. Borea, I would pitch Argyro, and then I would get, you know, this engrave plus a Therion in hand. Then I would use this to grab back whether it was like Charge or maybe Crosshouse in the grave or one of my Therion monsters. This card was just absolutely insane. So this is really good for the setup too. So if you have this plus 1 Therion in hand, typically, you know, you activate this, send a Therion. If you have Borea, that's typically what you want to get into. But if not, then you want to send Borea off of this card. And then whatever Therion you have in hand with Dugul, Alacia. Alacia is actually like the optimal one because you can use Alacia to equip it, use its effect to discard, and special summon Borea. And then you would use Borea, pitch another card from hand to add Discal, add another one, maybe summon one, and then overlay these two for one of your rank 8 monsters, which did come up a few times today, and I'll get into that later. But yeah, Argyro for the setup was awesome. 3 trade-in. This card was amazing going first or second. They would just never negate this, and it would always get me into exactly what I needed. You know, they would never ash this. But yeah, pretty much all your stuff is level 8 right here. You only have 2 level 7s, but the amount of level 8s that you have is ridiculous. So trade-in was super clutch today. Resolved 2 in one game, and I drew into basically the best hand I've ever seen for pure Therion. It was like Argyro, Coliseum, I had Lava Golem, and I think it was Regulus and something else. But yeah, the hand was absolutely crazy at that point. So yeah, trade-in not once per turn either. And then there's Charge also, which is the same thing as trade-in, but it is once per turn. But whenever I activate this, I would usually have Argyro in hand and pitch this to draw 2, so that way I would have the setup. But if not, you know, sometimes I played a little bit risky. Sometimes I'll set Discal or one of my Therions for setup, and then draw 2. But my draws were always good just because of how consistent this deck is. So Charge and Trade in a 3 were absolutely phenomenal. 1 Terraforming, grab the Discal, so you're running 4 copies. Foolish Burial. This card was actually insane. Whenever they would Ash Blossom Argyro, if it ever happened, which I think happened once, I would just, when it did come up, and it came up one time today, but it won me the entire game. A Foolish Burial, send any one monster, which was a Therion. Then I would have the setup for the Therion. So yeah, Foolish Burial at 1 was perfect. Sprite Smashers, rather. I was running this at 1 of my deck, but I can't actually attest to how good it was because I didn't draw into it a single time, and it's not a searchable card. So I don't know how good this would be. I think it would be very good, just to banish a Therion that's useless in the graveyard, like a you know, a Cross or a Charge, just to get a free special summon for like Alacia or Berea or Regulus. In theory, it's really good, but in practice, I actually don't know because I never saw the card. 2 Infinite Impermanence. This came up a few times. Just really good, you know, going first or second card. 2 Cross. I ran both. I didn't need both, which is why Therion's Irregular is here. So when this card comes in the mail for me, I'm actually going to replace 1 Cross with the Irregular. Irregular, this card is, it's a board wipe plus target any 3, so it gains 2100 attack when it equips. You gain all the equips effects. It's just an insane card, and it's also Ignition, right? So while it's equipped to a monster, you can special summon itself, and then you can discard for the border wipe. So yeah, this card is actually insane. The only problem is, so this entire deck plays through, there can be only one, but the problem is if you run irregular and you have Regulus, you can't have both on field, which is fine, but you just have to be kind of picky about which one you're going for then. But yeah, I'll end up replacing a cross for the irregular when I get the chance, so I'm going to do that now because that will happen. So I'll just put that up here next to the Elacia. So this is what the deck will look like by the time it comes in. Extra deck, played one End Punisher. I didn't go into this at all today, but it would have been really good if I had the chance to, for Ash and Ghost Server plus any of the level 8s. Switch that around. Any of the level 8s here would have been good in one game, but I just didn't need it. Zombie Stein, this did come up versus Eldritch. They skill drained without realizing that it had 4,500 attack. So they left me with a 4,500 attack beat stick that I just smashed in, with their life points. So Zombie Stein was also just insane today. I would use effect, pitch the Argoro system for the setup, get the negate. Didn't use this a single time, but in theory it's kind of good because you can send cards that can be equipped to. So you can send like Blossom, you can send Snow Rabbit or Therion. So you can equip Duel, you can equip Array, you can equip something to Regulus. But I just didn't use it at all today, so I didn't need it. The Ten of Galaxy came up once. It was alright. Did what it needed to do, but wasn't the best card. Divine Dragonite Felgrand was okay as an extra deck option. I just didn't go into it. So in theory, this is actually a good card offensively and defensively. Like, if they're trying to target their own card with a card effect, if they're trying to affect a card they control with a card effect, you can activate this to act as a preventative, or on your turn, you can, if they're trying to, for example, like evenly matched you or something, or if they're trying to, well, that affects the player, but I don't know. In theory, it's all right. I mean, like, I could see its application for something like irregular, so it's unaffected by card effects. It'll lose its equips, but it's whatever. The Regulus, so it's still held for next turn, so you still have the negate maybe. But I just never went into it. I did go into Dingirsu once, and this actually caused an OTK because I was able to clear their entire back row, and because of that, Dingirsu, I had Bull-Ein, and I think Regulus at 35, so I just went in for the OTK. Sanafond, this card would have been really good today if I played against anything that played out of the graveyard, but I literally didn't. Even the Eldritch match I had, I was thinking about going into it, but they didn't even have the Golden Lord in graveyard, so it was just useless at that point. Flare Metal, I actually did go into this once, and it did exactly what it needed to do. Burn the opponent, couldn't be destroyed by card effects, 2800 beat stick, it was amazing. Diabolos, I just didn't have the opportunity to go into it, as well as Big Eye. They were good options. I would never take these out, especially Big Eye, but I just didn't have the opportunity to go into them. Boral Sword, didn't have the opportunity to go into it, but I like the card. Unicorn, didn't go into it, but it's good. I did go into Phoenix, I think, once. Did what it needed to do, what can you say? Didn't go into Cerberus. And this was another new one that I pulled on the sneak preview, so I did play it, and it's actually an insane common for the set, but I just didn't need it at all because I already had a bunch of negations, so it just never came up. So that's the main and extra deck. For the side deck, it was 3 draw. I didn't side into this at all, just because either I was winning, or when it came to my plant round, the Sun Avalon deck, I didn't even bother siding into it because their combo takes like 10 minutes, and we only had 5 minutes left. And so because of that, by the time my turn came around, it was a draw anyway, so I didn't even bother siding into it. So I didn't need it all day. 3 Raigeki, that did come up. I baited in gate, and then I actually ended up using evenly matched to clear an entire Dragon Link board, which was cool. But yeah, 3 Raigeki, 3 Dark Ruler. This card was okay today. Used it twice, pretty good. And then the back row hate, I used Harpies against, I think it was Eldritch once, so it was alright. It wasn't bad. Yeah, just didn't see either Twin Twisters, but they are good because you can discard Argoro, you can discard one of your Therions, you can discard a plant or a Psychic for Duke or Borea. So yeah, Twin Twister is really good in this deck. It's free. And then 3 evenly matched. Evenly matched actually came up a few times that day. It was a really good powerhouse of a card. So yeah, that's the deck list. Again, I went 4-0-1, so 4 wins and a draw. It was undefeated, tied for first. The entire player count, I believe, was 30 or 32 for the sneak preview. So yeah, hope you enjoy the deck profile. I'm not gonna really change anything at this point. Like I said, I'm just gonna add in the irregular. So, but yeah, that's gonna be it. Thanks, guys.